Hey guys, this is going to be a all-in-one tutorial on how to complete the Cayo Perico heist in the new year with just a ton of tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. Before we get started with the setup missions, I do recommend getting a flying vehicle, either the Sparrow, Oppressor Mark II, or the Deluxo. If you don't already have the Oppressor Mark II or Deluxo, I recommend getting the Sparrow just because it's a very versatile helicopter and you don't need a flying vehicle, but it will make the missions go by a lot quicker. Secondly, the Phantom Wedge is a completely optional vehicle to get, but for one of the setup missions, if you have the Phantom Wedge, it reduces the amount of time it takes to complete that mission by maybe around 5 minutes. So if you plan to do a lot of Cayo Perico heists, I recommend getting this. The last thing we need to cover is job teleporting. It takes a lot of the tedious running around out of the setup missions. To set up the job teleporting, first open up your pause menu, go to online, go down to options, and make sure matchmaking here is set to closed. And now let's open up the interactive menu, go down to preferences, then down to maplet options, then to jobs. Set all jobs to custom and set all of these to show. The only one you don't want to be show on is the open wheel race because that one won't be a reliable teleport, so just set that to hide. Now that's set up, I'm going to show you how to job teleport on PS5. It might be a little different on the platform you're on, so just do a quick Google search on how to actually do it on your platform. When you job teleport, try to pick a job that's close to a road, since when you do the actual teleport, your vehicle that you have out will teleport with you and it'll spawn at the closest spawnable road. Once you find a job you want to teleport to, all you need to do is click square on the job and wait on the screen where it asks you to confirm. From here, click your PlayStation button on the controller and go down to accessories. If you don't see the accessories option here, click the options button on the controller and move the icons around and put the accessories somewhere in the beginning. And then we can click into the accessories, go down to your controller and click turn off controller. If you want, try turning off the controller from the home button a couple times just to get the muscle memory down. Once you do that, to do the actual job teleport, click X and immediately after, go turn off the controller. This method won't actually work during a mission, but we'll look at a workaround in a bit. We're going to wait in the screen for about 30 seconds. If you can hear the actual game audio, what we're listening for is the audio to fade out and then fade back in. That's our cue to turn the controller back on. During the heist prep missions, there's background music that plays, so all we really need to do is listen for that background music to start playing, or listen for Pavel to start talking again on the phone. That's our cue to turn the controller back on. For now, I've fast forwarded a little bit and it's been around 30 seconds, so I'm going to turn the controller back on. We should have teleported and our car should be close by now. Now that we know how to do the job teleporting piece, there's one more setup piece that we need to do for this to work during a mission. Before we start any of the setup missions, we need to pull up our phone, go to quick join, go down to random, click on alone, and click on are you sure. Immediately after, pull up the interaction menu, go to register as boss and register as a CEO. If you've done this correctly, you shouldn't see a loading circle at the bottom right of your screen. Before a setup mission, we do the quick join CEO method, and then we start the mission, and then from there we can do the job teleport. This is what it looks like at normal speed minus starting the actual mission. I've fast forwarded here about 15 seconds and boosted the audio a little bit so you can hear what the fade out and fade back in of the audio sounds like if you want to listen in for the audio cue instead of waiting the 30 seconds prior to turning on the controller. The fade in and out isn't as abrupt with normal volume levels. During the setup missions, you should start hearing the music for the mission play or hear Pavel talking, or you can always count to 30. Now let's put our spawn location to the Kasatka and we'll just join in on a invite only session to get started. I hope the audio from the game isn't super loud, but I'll be going through the tips and tricks as I play through the setup missions in the heist. As I'm doing the setup missions, you'll see me do the setup for the job teleport and the actual job teleport several times as examples. Before we start any of the missions, just make sure you retire from your CEO. From there, do the quick join random and start your CEO every time before any of the setup missions. Obviously, the first setup mission is going to be the gather intel, so we'll go ahead and start that. Now we can go to the map and pick a job close enough for us to teleport to. For the gather intel, try not to teleport onto the job that's right where the plane is, since there are enemies there that can take you out as you're spawning in. The amount of time the setup missions and the finale takes is going to depend on what kind of vehicles you have to use and the amount of practice that you have doing these missions. Either way, I've added a timer at the top right so you can get a rough idea of how long these missions end up taking me. Typically, all of the setup missions and the finale takes less than an hour and usually closer to 45 minutes. I left this full job teleport in so you can hear the music come back and me turn the controller back on. From here on out, I'll be fast forwarding through a lot of the boring parts and really just coming in when there are some tips and tricks. This mission's pretty straightforward and boring, so all we really need to do is fly this to the yellow marker on the map. Try not to climb super quick with this plane since it does tend to stall, and try to fly above 900 feet of altitude because I've heard that gives you the fastest speed, but I haven't gotten a chance to test that yet. If you want to monitor your altitude, you can do that in first person on the dash. For this method, we're going to stick to grabbing the secondary loot we can get at the airstrip and then going to grab the primary target. Rockstar is always messing with the amount of money you can make, but baking soda is worth the most, then greens, then cash is worth the least. You don't really have control over which secondary loot spawns, but try to fill your bag during the finale with the higher value targets before going for the lower value ones, just to make the most out of it. Similarly, you can't control what primary target spawns, but you can do a quick Google search to figure out how much each is worth, just to get a rough idea of what your payout's going to be. Once we're on the airstrip, we're going to immediately turn around and go to this big hangar and take a picture of the loot that's at the bottom. You don't need to be super precise. You can just pull out your phone, take a picture of the general area. As long as something is in the frame, it'll give you the option to send it to Pavel. For the loot at the top, jump on this box and then jump up on top of this railing. Again, we can just stand back here and take a photo in, but bad luck here. There's nothing in frame. There's nothing up here, so it doesn't give me the option to send it to Pavel. We're done with this hangar, so we'll run across to the other side and get to this small shed over here. So on this run, I have really bad luck and just got cash over here as well. So 3 stacks of cash isn't actually going to fill the loot bag. The goal is to get the loot bag full, since that's one of the pieces we need to get the elite challenge. Since we got pictures of all the loot, we're going to run over to this motorcycle and head to the communication tower. If you do get caught at some point and come back to the airstrip, right here and right down here, there are motorcycles if you need to get a motorcycle again. So from the airstrip, we're going to take this path to the right, just avoiding all the cameras and security guards. When you're going through here, Just try to steer clear of the plants and the bushes because they have really weird hitboxes that will knock you off your bike. We're pretty much just riding along this shoreline and making it to right behind where this camera is. And as you can see, the bush knocked me off. So we're gonna ride behind this camera and we'll stop before we get to this checkpoint right here. So this guard right here with the large vision cone on top of the tower is what we're looking for. As soon as the guard turns away from us, we're going to make the jump over the checkpoint. If you get over here fast enough from the airstrip, you'll catch him turned away from the get-go, so you can just immediately go and jump this. If you look on the map, you can see a vehicle driving by. Just try to stay away from the vehicles and the guards because they can hear you if you get too close. If you get here fast, you may need to wait for the 3 vehicles that pass near here to pass by. But since we were a little bit slow, they've already passed. And we can just drive behind the barricade right here, away from the guard, and then drive behind this camera. And there is a vehicle on the map, just make sure you keep a distance from them so they don't hear you. Once you get up here to the communication tower, if you see a guard near where the yellow area is, it means that the communications box is up on the tower somewhere. But since there was no guard here, we know that the communication box is at the bottom. After the little bit of math here, all we need to do is pull up the phone real quick, go to the basement, and just check what our primary loot is. Depending on where your loot is, if it's in this glass box or in the safe, one of the missions for the setup is going to be different. Once we spot the loot, we can just join a new invite-only session. We don't need to go back to the airstrip, and it'll join us back inside the Kasaka. Now we'll start going through the setup missions in a particular order to make sure that we're doing it in a somewhat of an efficient way. Remember, before you start any setup mission, retire from your organization, go to quick join, random, are you sure, and then start your org back up before starting the mission. We'll start with the weapon loadout, and I like to use the aggressor class. We start with the weapon loadout mission so that if we get the Merryweather HQ mission, we'll back out and go into a new invite-only session. We save the approach vehicle for last since we don't need to come back to the Kasatka for that one, and for the equipment, we don't need to do the demolition charges, even though it says it's mandatory right now. Let's accept the mission, and so we got the Merryweather HQ this time, so we're just going to go through and go to a new invite-only session and try again. Remember, before we start any mission, we need to retire, do quick join, random, accept, and then start the organization back up. So we're going to give this another try for the aggressor loadout, and we got the Merryweather HQ again, so we're just going to join another invite-only session. Now we'll go through the quick join and CEO process again to get the jobs loaded up for us. And we'll start the weapon loadout mission again. This time we didn't get the Merryweather HQ, so we're good to go. Before we actually job teleport, we're going to set up the Kasatka in a good position for the rest of the setup missions. To do this, we'll just fast travel the Kasatka over to Vespucci Beach. If you don't have a flying vehicle like the Sparrow Oppressor Mark II or the Deluxo. Just drive the Kasatka up near the beach, but don't run it onto the land. Since I'm using the Oppressor Mark II for these setup missions, I'll be completely beaching the Kasatka onto land. We beach the Kasatka so it's a little quicker to get to, and also if you don't beach it and you land a Deluxo or an Oppressor on top, there is a chance that it can slide off and get destroyed. Now that it's beached, we can just get out and do the job teleport as normal. For these weapon loadout missions, it's always easiest to go in from the roof entrance, so if you don't have a flying vehicle, try to just get a helicopter from one of the helipads. For most of these missions, I'll be using the assault shotgun with a suppressor on it. It's just what I find to be easiest to use. When you get into this building, as long as you're aiming for headshots and you move through quick, they won't actually spot you, so you can only take out these guards that I'm taking out here, and then you can leave the rest. We'll walk over here to start the dialogue and then do the worst hack in this game. Now we just need to get the weapons and get it back to the Kasatka. Keep in mind that you can't job teleport while you have something in your hand, so after we pick up this loadout, if we try to job teleport, it'll just drop the item and we'll have to come back to pick it up. When you get to this yellow circle, click left on the D-pad to go back up to the roof. Before we start the next mission, don't forget to retire, quick join, random, and start the CEO again. Now that the weapon loadout is out of the way, we can do any of the equipment in any order really. Remember, we don't need to do the demolition charges, just the other three. This plasma cutter mission is specific to primary loot that's inside of the glass case. So if you got loot that's in the safe, you'll be looking for the safe codes instead. The safe codes setup mission is pretty straightforward. You just need to go grab the safe codes from a specific target in the casino. Once you get the safe codes and lose the cops, you'll need to come back to the Kasatka for the next setup mission. Once we get in the safe house, it's going to ask us to take a picture of the planning board. Instead, we'll just pull up the camera and take a picture of the whole room and send it to Pavel. Once we have that, we'll walk away from the door and then walk back towards it, and it should let us exit. If you have a flying vehicle, just start flying towards the city while we wait for Pavel to give us the coordinates. If not, you can just wait for him to give us the coordinates and job teleport to somewhere close by. When you get to the enemies on this mission, just take it slow. Even if you're on a oppressor, there's a good chance you could blow yourself up in here. Once you take out the enemies and pick up the package, make sure you go over to the yellow circle to activate it. If not, the mission won't progress and it won't let you enter the Kasatka. Once again, before starting the next mission, make sure you retire, do quick join, random, accept it, and then start your org back up. Next, we'll do the fingerprint cloner mission, and there's nothing too special here. We're just gonna job teleport over to the warehouse and take out the cameras before we go in. Even after you get into the warehouse, you do have to wait a little while for Pablo to complete his dialogue before you can start the hack. There is a trick where you can call a contact like Pegasus on your phone to skip some of the dialogue, but it hasn't been working very well for me, so I'm just waiting around for the dialogue to finish. Once we leave the warehouse, we can just job teleport over to the location of the fingerprint cloner. After you do these setup missions a few times, you'll see the locations that it tends to make you go to, and you can create your own custom jobs and place them nearby, so you don't need to use the Rockstar jobs. Instead, you can just job teleport a little closer using your own custom jobs. Once you get to the archive, you can either jump over the cameras if you're in this location, or take them out to prevent some enemies from spawning in when you leave the archive. When you're inside, to grab the fingerprint cloner, you just need to run over to the back cluster of computers over here and do a circle, and it should pick up the fingerprint cloner from there. Once again, we're going to retire, go to quick join, random, are you sure, and then start the CEO again before we go into the next mission. Once you get to the construction site, there should be a pallet of wood near the entrance with a hard hat that'll help us disguise and run around without getting detected by the guards. If you get this construction site and you don't have a flying vehicle yet, I do recommend going to get a helicopter to get up here quicker. Once you have the hard hat on, you should be okay to run around the construction site looking for the cutting torch in the boxes with the green arrows above them. As long as you don't get too close to the guards or touch them, you shouldn't alert them. We'll set up the job teleport one more time and start the Longfin mission, which is going to be our last mission. If you have a phantom wedge, you'll do what I do here and teleport over to the police department. If you don't have a phantom wedge, you're going to leave the Kasaka after starting this mission and teleport over to one of the locations of the semi-trucks the game shows you on the map. The truck that it shows you further south on the map is typically a phantom wedge if you specifically want that. Once you're here, you'll want to call in your phantom wedge. We're going to reverse this truck through the entrance and just hook up to the boat and try to get it out into the road as quickly as possible. Once you're out of the gates, just make some distance from the police department itself and jump out. We're gonna choose the easy way out here just to get rid of the cops quick. If you're using your personal phantom wedge like I'm doing here, you can just job teleport to the docks where the delivery is, and the Longfin will teleport with you. You can teleport somewhere close by, but I have a custom job set up right at the gate of the delivery point to make it a little quicker. That's all of the setup missions completed, and since we don't care about the position of the Kasatka anymore, we'll just join in on a invite only session to spawn into the Kasatka again. Since we don't have any more free mode missions, we don't need to do the job teleport setup, and instead we can just start up the finale now. For the selections, the approach vehicle is going to be the Longfin, infiltration point will be the main dock, compound entry is going to be the drainage tunnel, and the escape point doesn't really matter for us. Time of day will be day, and don't forget the suppressors on the weapons loadout. A quick tip for the Longfin and any other boat: if you need to make a sharp turn, just go really slow, hold the right bumper, so R1, and turn all the way and lightly give it throttle. You can make really tight turnings. We'll use that tip to make a left turn here and go straight for the airstrip to get our secondary targets. Before you get out of the boat here, just make sure it's completely still, or it'll eventually just drift back out to sea while we're doing the mission. While we're doing the finale, you want to try to keep up the pace so we can catch all the guards in the proper positions. We're coming up on the first guard we're going to take out next to the big hangar. Just aim for headshots and take out this guard before he gets too close to this Jeep. There's a vehicle that comes by here, and if he's too close to the Jeep, they'll spot the body. We'll start with the loot at the bottom. For my run here, again, super unlucky, so I only have the loot at the bottom here, but I'll still show you how to get up to the top with the forklift. If you have some more variety of secondary loot to choose from, just don't forget, try to fill up on the baking soda first, and then the greens, and then cash, since cash is worth the least. But here I don't really have anything to pick from, it's just cash, so I'm trying to fill up here. It takes 4 piles of cash for you to fill up your bag, and I only have 3, so I'm not going to have a full loot bag here. But you need to have a full loot bag if you want to do the elite challenge. For the forklift, just take it slow here and pick up this crate of boxes. And you just need to lift up the fork and park it against this wall here, and then we can climb up. Before you climb up, if the box is shaking around like it's glitched against the wall, don't climb up, it'll likely kill you. So instead, reverse and align it back up until it's not vibrating. Since there's nothing else here for me, I'm gonna run over to the little shed we have over here. So we won't go around since there's guards over there. Instead, we'll jump up on this fence and take cover behind this AC unit. And we need to take out this guard only when he's facing that way and all the way at the end, or the security camera below us is gonna see him. Before we take out the security camera or cut the gate to get into the shed, we need to wait for this guard all the way over here to walk a little ways down this road, or he's gonna hear us cut the fence. So now that he's past that camera and a little ways down, we can take out this camera and then jump down and we'll go cut it. And we can see on the map that he's quite far away now, so he shouldn't be able to hear us. My loot bag isn't full, but your goal at this point should be to have a full loot bag before we jump back over this fence and leave. We'll just make our way to the boat and head over to the drainage tunnel now. Once we get close to the drainage tunnel, we're going to slow down and jump out when we're nearby. Once you duck under the water, make sure you click left on the D-pad to equip the rebreather before you go over and actually start cutting. You can cut the grill however you'd like. Some people do 3 or 4 quick passes. Sometimes I'll do 2 slow passes, but whatever is easy for you, just do that. Once you swim over to this grill, we'll click right on the D-pad to choose this as our entrance. Once this cutscene is over, we're going to take out our pistol and take a very specific path through the corridors to dodge a lot of the guards. Watch the route that I take a couple times just so you know exactly which way you're going. We'll run up the stairs here and go under this arch, through this corridor, and we'll jump up right here. So on the left side here, there's a guard. We'll need to wait for him to turn and start walking, and we're just going to immediately follow him. I'm going to slow this down real quick, but you need to take out this guard as soon as he goes in and stops in this little corner. If he keeps walking forward, his body's going to get found by another guard that walks by later. To avoid this guard up here, just walk up against the wall and don't try to take cover. If you try to take cover, sometimes your character will latch on to a random item or a wall that's in the view of that guard and you'll get found. Once you're in this office, just go to this far wall and open the safe, and it'll have, I believe, up to 100 grand in here. This time we weren't super lucky, but at least it's a little bit of extra cash. The fingerprint cloner is pretty easy to do. Just set each of the segments to the top of the fingerprint and then count down how many ever positions you are. So for the first one, it'll be the first very tip of the fingerprint. For the second one, you'll set it to the first piece of the fingerprint and then move it one more since it's the second position. And then for this third one, you'll move it to the third position from the tip. You can also do it just visually taking a look at it. It's pretty straightforward. Just make sure you take your time and don't fail the hack, since if you have a full loot bag, you need to not fail any of the hacks to get the elite challenge as well. If you have the safe codes, you can just repeat the safe codes to yourself and go open the safe. Here, since we're going to have to cut, the easiest way to do it is just hold it down until it gets to the red and then let go and let it cool down all the way. And you'll need to repeat that around 3 to 4 times for it to cut through. Alright, we're almost done here. Now we just need to escape. We'll go out of this door and stand behind this guard. We just need to make sure there's no guards monitoring to the left of us here. Sometimes the Juggernaut will come through here and sometimes another guard will come through depending on how quick or how slow you are. So from here, we're just going to run up these stairs. And if this guard walks past, just give him some time to get out of the cone of the other guard, take him out. And we'll go to the gate and click right to choose this as our exit. If you get detected while you're at the airstrip, it's probably easier to just restart and try it again. If you get detected while you're in the compound, as long as either you take out some of the guards, run towards this exit and avoid the Juggernaut, you should be able to still exit through this gate. If you get detected, you won't have this motorcycle here, but there should be a motorcycle that comes in from the right over here you can pick up. We are going to drive to this tip of the island and drive off of it instead of going to the exit point. So we just need to really drive behind this guard and just kind of follow the direction that I'm doing here. Just take it slow and try to avoid the plants if possible, since it will definitely knock you down. As soon as you hit the water and go under, click left on the D-pad to put on your rebreather and just swim towards the furthest mine that you can see over here. You should see all of the gooey HUD elements go away, indicating the mission is over. Alright, that is all of the Cayo Perico setup missions and the finale heist. So I didn't get the elite challenge here since I didn't fill up all of the bags, but you should be able to get yours filled up and get the 50k bonus for the elite challenge. I think this is the lowest take I've ever had on a Cayo Perico, so you should definitely have better luck than me. So good luck with the mission. Like, comment, subscribe, ask any questions you have, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.